moving from one big issue to another, there's probably nothing more central to what we do and how we live our lives today than energy. You all down here in South Florida have gone through many storms. We went through one in the Northeast called Sandy. Believe me, when you're without power for as long as many people in the New York region were, and you know, New Yorkers never complain about anything. It was my mother and father-in-law in their 70s were without power and without heat for 16 days. My family was without heat for 8 days, and energy and how we get it and how we deliver it is one of the great challenges of the 21st century. Happily, there are things happening in this country that seem to be moving in the right direction, and one of the leaders in helping guide America's energy policy is the chairman and CEO of Duke Energy, the largest electric power holding company in the United States. His name is Jim Rogers, and time and again he has been recognized as one of the most influential thought leaders in the world of energy. More than 22 years of experience as a chief executive officer in the electric utility industry. His honors are many. He is, among other things, the past chairman of the Edison Electric Institute, is chairman of the Institute for Electric Efficiency, and he serves as a member of the board of directors of the executive committee of the Nuclear Energy Institute. Please welcome to the stage Jim Rogers. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm really delighted to be here today. What a wonderful day. This is National Inventors Day. This is also Thomas Edison's birthday. He would have been 166 years old. I like that number. It makes me feel really young. But I also like it because Thomas Edison was really the father of our industry. He didn't really invent the light bulb, but what he did was commercialize it. Think back with me to the early 1900s when we started bringing universal access to electricity to all the people in America. When we started down that road, we could have never imagined refrigeration, air conditioning, X-ray machines, MRIs, laser surgery, radio, television, computers, the internet. Well, Al Gore invented that, but also smartphones, tablets. Without electricity, none of that could have happened. But when we started down that road, we could never envision that the provision of electricity would enable that to happen. So as we've brought it to every home, every business, it's been transformative. Now, if I ask y'all how much you spend per kilowatt hour, and I've asked audiences this size before, and maybe only 1 or 2 hands go up. But if I ask you how much you paid for gasoline, you'd know per gallon what the price is. If I ask you when you throw the switch, do you say, I bet that comes from nuclear. I bet that comes from natural gas. Now, if the lights don't go on, I know exactly what you say. You go, damn utility. That's what you're thinking. But our business is to provide electricity in an affordable way, in a reliable way, increasingly clean way, in safe and sustainable way, 24/7, 365 days a year. And in fact, we provide electricity 99.99% of the time. And in fact, while it's not a disruptive technology, it's an enabling technology. Every day, every week, every month, every year, we're making efficiency innovations, sustainable innovations that you don't see. We're cleaning up the emissions from our power plants, but when you see the lights, you see no difference. When you turn the air conditioning on, you see no difference. And actually, that's one of our great challenges. But if you look back over the 20th century, the National Academy of Engineers, chaired by Neil Armstrong, who used to serve on my board, they found that the most important, impactful engineering development of the 20th century was not putting a man on the moon, not the computer, not the internet, but it was the providing universal access to electricity. So we did a great job in the 20th century. The question is, what will we do in the 21st century? How will we incorporate renewable energy? How will we build a new generation of nuclear plants? 70% of the carbon-free electricity today comes from nuclear plants. And these plants are old, and they're going to need to be replaced over the next several decades. In fact, every power plant in America is going to have to be retired and replaced by 2050. What a great opportunity. It's like a blank sheet of paper, a chance to redesign a generation fleet for the future. Our company's already down that road, and we spent $9 billion building new gas plants and new advanced coal plants, expanding our ability to generate electricity from our nuclear plants. And as a consequence of that, we will have shut down approximately 50 coal plants by 2015. Plants that are old, inefficient, and high emitting. We're going to have the capability going forward to produce even cleaner electricity. We've invested significantly, over $3 billion in solar and wind. We spent $10 billion over the years in reducing the emissions from our power plants. But we have an opportunity that's emerging that's even greater, because these new technologies that are coming are going to lead to huge productivity gains in the use of electricity. What does that mean? What that means is our ability to reduce usage per capita is going to significantly increase in the coming years. It's the deployment of these technologies that is so critical. And you probably are sitting there saying, well, a guy that makes money by selling more kilowatt hours, why would he be such an advocate for energy efficiency and more productivity gains in the use of technology? My belief is we need to change the regulatory model. We need to change the business model so that we are incented to invest in your homes, in your businesses, to help you reduce your usage. Because the reality is, as we modernize our infrastructure in this country, the price of electricity is going to go up. But what you care about is the bill, and the ability to reduce your usage is critical to mitigating these price increases that are inevitable. I look across the country today, and the use of electricity, the cost per home is about 1.7% of disposable income. So it's cheap. People don't pay attention to it. But what we're seeing is some behavioral change, but because electricity is so back of mind, that I believe the real change comes through the deployment of technologies that will allow greater productivity gains. So that's the direction we're headed. But I believe we can accelerate our movement in that direction. We can accelerate it by stepping away from what we do in the developed world and think about the 1.3 billion people in the world who have no access to electricity. Think about that. That's 4 times more people than live in the United States. That's about the size of the number of people that live in China. No access to electricity. No ability to plug in the light at night and read and study. No ability to plug in their cell phone. I mean, I was in Kenya several years ago, and I was in a village, and they had cell phones, but to charge their cell phones, they had to walk 3 to 4 hours to do that. So if you have the capability to bring electricity to these people, it will change their lives. How many Thomas Edisons, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates are among that 1.3 billion people in the world who have no access? How do we do it? One of the things that we're doing is I'm the chair of a group called GCEP, Global Sustainable Energy Partners, we're taking a small step by deploying 50,000 solar lanterns to villages through Africa and in South America, in Rwanda and in Argentina, Ecuador. But by deploying these, it gives them light, but it also gives them the capability to charge a cell phone. So that is a road to transforming, because without electricity, you can't get clean water. It helps you in terms of cooking and replacing cook stoves. So you really have the capability to start to transform these communities going forward. And you're probably sitting there saying, but why would a largest utility in the United States have any concern for the 1.3 billion people? I believe in providing electricity to these communities, we will learn things, and some call this reverse innovation. If you think about Africa today, there are so many cell phones in Africa, but they didn't build long lines like we built telephone lines in the United States. They bypassed that technology. But you're sitting there saying, well, you have to have a power plant and you have to have power lines to provide electricity. There's no way to bypass the generation of electricity. But yet there's a different way to think about it. In some of these communities where you have the capability to get solar, combine it with wind, and to use a microgrid or DC, actually which Thomas Edison recommended is DC technology, not AC, which we use in the United States and around the world. But people in India is really leading the way with these microgrids driven by solar, driven by battery technology, and in some places by wind or some combination. And you say, well, what will we learn from that? I think we'll learn the way to redesign our system. I mean, you look at Sandy, you look at other disasters we've had in terms of no electricity, but think about it. If we think about our grid differently, what will that mean? Well, the Department of Defense is thinking about it because they are looking at creating microgrids for all their facilities in the US and around the world to protect from cyber attacks. Cyber attacks is the #1 issue our industry faces going forward. And the ability to protect that is the ability to basically close off part of your system around critical facilities, around hospitals, critical buildings within the community. And so this notion of microgrids, we could really advance our thinking if we have the capability to develop microgrids as we provide electricity. So not only is it the right thing for us to be doing, it's the smart thing for us to be doing as we redesign our system. As we move from a radial system that's interconnected to a more digital system going forward. I mean, today we have an analog system in our grid. I mean, we don't know your power's out until you call us. Can you imagine that in the 21st century? To where we have a digital system that gives us the capability to identify when power's out and how we can restore service. So the digital system, the microgrid, the blank sheet of paper to redesign what kind of generation we should be deploying to generate electricity, that is all in our future. This is an amazing time and an amazing opportunity for us. But not only are we the great enablers of modern civilization, we're the most capital-intensive industry in the United States. And we build power plants that last 40 to 60 years. Our thinking is, in my judgment, we need what I call cathedral thinking. We need to look around the corner. We need to think about the future. Who would have guessed 6 years ago that we would have natural gas in the United States at $3.50? Or that we could be a net exporter of BTUs, coal, gas, oil, refined products within the next decade or two. But it was the independents, not the major oil companies who discovered shale gas and shale oil and are producing it today and have brought the price down. This cathedral thinking, the majors will acquire it and they will do it in an environmentally responsible way. But let me say cathedral thinking because I want to leave it with you. If you take anything out of my conversation, think about this. We have no national energy policy. We make things happen through innovation and through change and without policy. But cathedral thinking to me is this. In June of this last year, I took my 10-year-old granddaughter to London and Paris. And in Paris, we saw Notre Dame. And when you look at Notre Dame, you say, that was built over 100 years. It took 3 generations of people to build Notre Dame. The architect never saw it finished. The people that worked on the foundations never saw the walls, never saw the stained glass windows. That generation that worked on the walls never saw the spires. And even those who saw it finished never saw all the marriages, all the funerals, or heard the prayers of the people who have been in that cathedral for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. They had faith, they had a vision, they saw the future, and they said, we need to commit ourselves to a better future. We need to leave something for the future. We need to dedicate our lives at this time to something that is greater than us. That, to me, is cathedral thinking. That's something we don't have enough of in this country. We must have it to be profitable in our industry. We must have it as a society. So walk out of here. Think about cathedral thinking. Think about long-term thinking. But given how the pace of change in the world is going, we need to be doing this on China time. Thank y'all very much.